Hey guys, what we got here is a 33 I did for a buddy of mine, 10 years ago. He was pretty much a stranger to me then. I mean, I met him before that a couple times, but we weren't friends then. It's something he paid a machine shop to do. They charge him $12 grand to make a lower end stroker. Just your basic run-of-the-mill Eagle kit, nothing special, 2-bolt block. They put studs in it, but they didn't line hone it, although they charged them for it. They charged them to zero deck it. They didn't do that. They charged to bore and hone with a deck plate. They didn't do that. So the bores are fucked in it. And it wouldn't pull a sick whore off a piss pot. So he got a hold of me and we recammed it. It had no compression, too much cam. So we recammed it. Flat hydraulic. A dual plane intake. It ran it that summer. And that winter I tore it apart, put flat top pistons in it, different cam, this intake. Right now, this motor is making 540 horse. And with a 200 solid nitrous, it's 700 and, I don't know, I think 15 horse or somewhere around there. But anyway, it's had a lot of nitrous put through it. This bank is down on pressure. Like I said, it was done 10 years ago. It's been run hard for 10 years, so it's time to freshen it up, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to pull it apart, hopefully find nothing broken, except for maybe some top rings. Get a ring kit for it, and basically put it back together, and get rid of this fucking Canton oil pan. But anyway, I'm going to take it apart. If I run into something, I will film it. I don't know how good you're going to be able to see it. The light here sucks, I know. But anyway, before I pull the distributor out, I'm marking the distributor base and the intake. And what that allowed me to do is drop this intake, the distributor back in with the same timing it has now. So there'll be no need to get it back onto it with the timing light once we get it fired back up. I'd do a battery swap. It'd be fucking nice to have a camera just plug in the wall. Small fortune in batteries. Oh yeah. If you guys are going to do this every now and then, or even, especially you guys are going to do it a lot, I recommend saving your old boxes. Now this box is what the rockers came out of from the last motor I just did. So I can pull these off, drop them right in the box. And same with retainers and springs and push rods, pistons, everything can go right into a box. I've already used the cam. It's going to go right in the cam box from that other motor I just did. Mark it so I know what motor it is. Done deal. So if you're planning, if you're just going to do one motor and call it done, throw your boxes away. But if you plan on doing more than a motor, keep your boxes. They're real handy when you're doing a rebuild or a re-ring. Yeah. Okay guys, I found a problem. This is a bolt-on pickup. And the tab where the bolt bolts it to it broke. When I knocked the pan off, this came off with it. So this fucking thing was probably about ready to shit the bed, because it had a little bit more vibration, and this would have worked out a little bit, and either dropped off and right into the bottom of the pan, or where it came out enough to suck air instead of oil, and it would have lost oil pressure. So I guess from now on, even though the pump has a bolt-on pickup, I'm going to tack weld it. But that just shows you these things can actually get a little strain on some parts. That's just G-force and doing that. Bearings. I get the slugs out. as you can see, the bearings look pretty damn good for a 10-year-old fucking motor that's been raced on nitrous. Except for this one here. We caught this motor just in time. I don't know if you can see it. But if you look between the bearing and the rod, you can see air. And you see the light between the two? That means, and as you can see by looking at it, as you can see, it just fell out on its own. This has gotten hot. And the heat has collapsed the shell. So that was on the verge of spinning, and that could have done a lot of damage. That would have ruined the crank. So we caught this motor just in time. And I don't think it swallowed any air from that pickup and caused this, because they all would have had it, not just that one. Not sure what was going on there. And like I said, this motor wasn't actually built. I assembled this motor. You know, I got a machine shop built the motor, and all they did was take the parts out of the box, put the motor together. All I did was recam it, had it zero deck, line honed, and put it back together, and, you know, put it together correctly, but I never did check see the rods are round or straight. So that's going to happen this time around. And that way hopefully avoid anything like this in the future. Fucking play. Alright, now I got the crank out. Crank's good. The main bearings are looking pretty good. You can see some dirt in them. But no freaky wear. They're all tight, not falling out. So this would be a pretty straightforward build. Rebuild, I should say. So I'm going to have the rods checked, make sure they're straight, resized, maybe a polish on the crank, new rings, bearings, and seal this thing back up, and pretty much done. Going to check the valve spring pressure, make sure that's still good. Yeah. And on this one, you're going to see a dyno before, which is the last time this thing ran. We just dynoed it. It's been 10 years trying to get this kid to dyno this motor, and it's finally happened. So, but I never really knew what this thing was putting out. I figured around 5 somewhere, but yeah. We pulled it, dynoed it, and it came here. Now it's in pieces. I'm going to rebuild it, take it back, and dyno it. Now technically what I want to do is rebore this block 40 over with deck plates so the fucking thing's around when it goes together, because right now when the heads are bolted down the cylinders aren't round, because the guy that did the machine work on this originally, he didn't use a deck plate on it, even though the owner was charged for it, but it's obvious that he didn't use it. So I'd like to rectify that, but Jesus Christ, that's, you know, a couple $100 for boring, and another $600 or $800 for SRP pistons. So I don't know what's going to happen there. And for those of you that are wondering, this is 11-to-1 pump gas motor. It's in a 72 Nova It's full dressed. It's not, you know, a tubbed out sheet metal interior car. It's the windshield washer squirters even work. 373 gears, turbo 350 trainee, 10.5 tire, and yeah, 373s. 8th mal, it runs 6.3 on the nitrous and 7 on just motor. And the 8th mal, quarter mile, it was, what did he run it, 10.2? Yeah, I think 10.2. It's only been the quarter mile that one time. Yeah, you can drive to the track, pump gas, race it, drive it home. He's been doing that for 10 years now. I think it's held up pretty good. So, anyway, I need some stuff to the machine shop when I can, and try to get the guy to order the parts and get this thing back together. Hey guys, you got motors back from machine shop. The guy dropped 4 off today. 2 of them are going to be strokers, this being one of them. The other 2, there's one's a 355, and the other one's just a 350. That's the crate motor I tore apart. This is the other stroker. You can't see where the shit right now because of the light. But anyway, I'll get them in the other room and you'll be able to see better. But first, I got to notch this the bottom of the cylinder walls here for rod bolt clearance. And I just pack rags down in here really good, try to block all the holes up. Then you go under the die grinder and put some clearance in it. Pretty straightforward. Holy fuck, it's raining out. Alright, as you can see, this is how I protect the block from the grinding dust. As you can see, it's real fine. Should have been done before it was like clean, you know, for the final time. But not a big deal. As you can see, you go and open up the notches, and that allows the rod bolt to swing through without hitting. But you want to make sure all your journals, the cam area, is all covered good. Cylinder walls don't matter, because they're going to take some brake cleaner and wash it out. What you're looking for is to keep that fine grinding sand and dust out of your journal holes. You know where oil is going to come through. So what I do is I'll get a blow gun, blow this grinding dust out of it. Then I can pull the rags and stuff out and the tape off, blow it out again, then run brake cleaner through all the ports, passages, and that should be good enough that it's not going to tear up a crank. Okay guys, doing the Nova 3D3. This is one I did about 10 years ago, and it made 710 horse on nitrous, 540 on just motor, pump gas. The block wasn't machined properly the first time. There's a long fuck story on that, but anyway, new machinist. I added another block done for it because the bores are a mess. The bearings, I am using H bearings. They're Cleveite H bearings. They're a hard bearing. They're narrow. See that? An H bearing versus like a P bearing or an A bearing. The A stands for aluminum. Now the H bearings aren't something you want to run on a cast crank. You know, this is a forged Eagle crank. That one's going to be a scat. Both forged. They're a little narrower of a bearing. You can't really see it. And it gives you clearance for a raised billet. But anyway, what you're looking for, when you get your block back, is make sure they've done their work that you've paid them to do. Now, if you've had it line honed, one side of your cap should be as the factory made it. Another side should be freshly machined. And as you can see, this side is. It's been zero ground. And when you look in where your bearing's set, you'll see cross hatches like a cylinder. That means they've done their job. It's been line honed. Pretty straightforward. Bearings in, lube them up, and put it together and torque everything down. Now this has been line honed, and it's used the ARP bolts. They're brand new. They've been used to torque the caps down and measure, taken back off, caps cut, torque back down, and line honed. So they've already been through a couple of torque cycles. So you should be able to just torque them down with the ARP lube, and they're good to go. So that's what's going to happen. Bearings have been mic'd out. They're 2.5 thousandths on the mains and the rods, which is what the motor was when it was originally built and when I took it apart. So it's basically just a freshen re-ring thing, and it's been, like I said, it's been over 10 years. We wanted to pull it apart and see how things were. Even though it ran great, it was down on cylinder pressure, especially on the passenger side. Yeah, the wall on the cylinders are funnel shaped. So now the cylinders are correct. It was boarded home the deck plate, unlike the last guy that did the machine work on the old block. Yeah, this one's going to be pretty straightforward. That one there, we're going to make a good video of, because I didn't have the guy hang rods on pistons and all that stuff. I want to show you guys that. So that's going to be a pretty good video, but it's going to be fucking long. This one is basically throw it together. I mean, everything's done. Okay, as I've stated before in other videos, now if you know your bolts or your Chilton's manual or whatever, they tell you to oil your bolts and torque them down to a certain spec. Now if you look at your ARP fucking chart, yeah, there you go, swearing again. They give you different torque specs when you're using their lube versus like motor oil. And another thing you gotta pay attention to is you gotta get the lube between the head of the bolt and the washer, and under the washer, and of course your threads. Now what that's doing, if you don't do it that way, if you do just your head bolt to your washer, you don't do both sides of the washer, when you tighten it down, it's going to try to spin that washer because of friction, and that's going to throw your torque spec off, and that's why you got to lube them. And with different lubes, because it's got different lucidity, it's going to throw a torque spec off. It's like the motor oil isn't as slippery as this stuff, or vice versa. It can change. I mean, for what these are used for, you know, these aren't full-blown race motors. They're straight with a lot of race. Not real crucial. Or like a top fuel dragster. You gotta be right there. Yeah, so I'm gonna get the bolts lubed up, get them torqued down. And what I love about my machinist now, it says right on here, torqued to 70 pounds, because that's what he did when he line honed it. He torqued them to 70 pounds. Line honed it. And I got to torque them back down to 70 to stay nice and round. If I went more, it would oval it, or if I don't do it enough, it's not going to be round. So it's very crucial you're on the same page as the machinist, and he follows directions on the fucking fastener box. Anyway, I'm going to torque this down. Hey guys, doing this 3-3 freshen up the Nova. As you can see, I got the guts in. This is kind of a rush thing, so I don't have a lot of time to video. But it's pretty uneventful. I mean, it's basically a re-ring. Rings, bearings, gaskets. You know, the block's been changed, of course. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward because everything's all clearanced. Just bolt it in, torque it down. Let me, hold on a second. Let me flip this over so you can see the notches in the block. Alright, the clearancing that you gotta do is right there. As it's rotating with this stroke, you can see everything's close to the block. So you gotta go in and clearance for the bolts. Other than that, pretty straightforward. This is a small base circle cam versus like the standard base circle cam, and the reason for that, with these strokers, you can run into clearance issues with your rods hitting your cam lobe. But with this, it's cap screws. Instead of a bolt and a nut, this has a screw. You know, the rod's threaded, bolt screws into it. So when this is rotating, there's usually not a clearance issue for the most part with the cam, but I prefer to do them on a small base circle, so I know I'm not going to have to go in and clearance any of the rods after they've been all weight matched and the rotating assembly's balanced. Just I just gotta wait extra week or so for them to grind the cam for you, but it's not a big deal. You have plenty to do between now and then. So waiting, a week for them to grind the cam's really not a kick in the balls. And this one's using the cam that was in it, so I just wanted to note that it is a small base circle cam, so I'm not going in and clearance and rods and all that stuff. Eagle kit. As you guys know, I'm not a big fan of Eagle. That's what was in it. That's what's staying in it. Yeah, not much to say about it, really. It is what it is. Like I said, this 10 years old on a dyno with a wore-out block. It was 540 horse, so fresh block could be at least 5.5. And on nitrous, who knows? It was 720, 710, something like that. I'd have to look. So for the new block on nitrous, it's probably 30. Anyway, kind of clean the heads up, get those on, get the cam in it and whatnot. Hey guys, sorry for not really videoing this much. There's a deadline on it. I have to get it done, and videoing it just takes up too much time. But anyway, this has a mechanical cam versus a hydraulic cam, so I want to touch base on that a little bit. Now the cam requires 18 20/20, you can't read those, of clearance. Now, the 18 That's for your intake. The 20 is for the exhaust. The reason being is different is your exhaust valve runs hotter. And as you know, metal heats, it expands. So, in theory, while this is running and gets up to temperature, once this all heats up, that 18 turns to about 0. The 20 turns to about 0. Same as a hydraulic cam as far as adjusting. Except for this, like say 18. Okay, say you're doing your intake. That one is fucking shot. Get no exhaust up. But anyway, when your exhaust comes up, you want to do your intake. So all you would do is stuff the feeler gauge in, tighten your nut down till this is snug. You don't want it tight. You don't want to try to crush your feeler gauge. And these are a hot setting. They want the fucking motor warmed up to do this. So I don't have much resistance there. And once I fire the motor up and run it, warm it up, I go back and check them. And I don't like mechanical cans for the most part. Like run them on the streets. The roller setup's not bad because you don't have to go in every other weekend and adjust everything. But what's cool about it is you can fuck with that lash setting. Like you can tighten your lash up, and that's almost like changing the cam out. Because you can actually tighten up, say, your intake valve, and have the valve close sooner than it was supposed to. You can loosen it up, have it close later, save the exhaust. Polylocks, as you notice, this one, all the end ones have a clip on them, where these don't. And that is for the stud girdle. I don't know where the fuck I put it. That's when you put the stud girdle down, it sets on these, and in theory, shouldn't hit the rocker tips, but it has to be checked. Don't just put it on and think they're not going to hit. Yeah, that's about it. Next up, I got to clearance the gears for the timing cover and button this thing up and get it back to the guy. Okay, I'm doing the front cover, the gears. Now, see there's two fucking covers here. The owner put this cover on after I built the motor. When I built it, he had, I want to say this one's little chrome timing covers. And he bought this, so we can go in and change the cam phasing, with the degree bushings. And him not being a mechanic or an engine builder, he bought the cover, took the old cover off, put this cover on, called me up, and I walked him through adjusting the end plate on the cam. He didn't clearance the other gears. Now if you look at these, you can see, let's get the fucking light. As you can see, I've done some grinding on the front of them, especially on the back lug, and that's what it's for. So it sets in proper, gets clearance, and as you can see, there's a rubbing issue. And if you look real close, see right there, it's cracked with a fucking lump. It's pregnant. That's how much it needs to be clearanced. So I bought him another timing cover. It's all clearanced. Now this can go together and be good to go. Small gear driver's side, big gear passenger side. Big lump goes into the block, it rubs on this lub. But they need to be clearanced. Now this is clearance without a gasket between the cover and the block. And it's just clearanced. You know what I mean? It's not holding the cover out. There's probably 5 thousandths clearance right now. The gasket's probably 20 thousandths thick, I'd say. Top of my head without actually measuring it. That's just a guess. So it's going to have, 20 to 30 thousandths clearance when it's all said and done.